In the same week that Rivian laid off 600 people from their staff, their new startup named Also launched an e-bike called the TMB. Will this be the thing that saves Rivian, or will it put the nail in the coffin? Let's examine the bike to find out. So, out of the three of us on the EMC team, I'm definitely the biggest Rivian fanboy. I just like how it's outdoors focused. So when I heard they were launching an e-bike, of course I was interested, even though we don't really look at e-bikes here at EMC, and I'm not a big fan of them, but I wanted to check it out until I saw the price, which it starts at $4,000 for their budget model, but that only gets around 50 to 60 miles of range, and their launch edition or performance model is 4,500, and that gets 100 miles of range. That price was a little shocking to me because when I looked at e-bikes before, I've seen them for $1,000 to $2,000, and then I've seen the super specialized downhill mountain bikes at like $8,000 to $10,000, which is crazy to me. So the price might be justified since it's right in the middle of the cheap Chinese e-bikes and the very specialized downhill mountain bikes, but is it justified for a brand that has no recognition and that might not exist in a year? So Also's three main selling points for this bike are its torque specs, how modular it is, and its software. So let's get into the software. It is very Rivian-esque since Rivian is the parent company of Also, and it does have a lot of really nice features like turn-by-turn navigation. From what I've seen in videos, the software, the UI is really smooth and responsive, and it has features like cellular connectivity and GPS, so if your bike gets stolen or lost, you'll be able to find it. Now, of course, those features like the lost or stolen mode come at a price, which I've heard to be $15 a month. And then the torque specs also is claiming this has best in class torque. It has 180 Newton meters of force. So going up the hill is going to feel like a breeze with that pedal assist. If you have a lot of cargo on the bike too, it's going to feel really nice because the motor won't be struggling as much. And then lastly, how modular the bike is. So also designed a hot swappable seat. So you can swap it out. Right now they have three available seats. They have the regular seat, they have a cargo seat, which is just a regular seat and a cargo box in the back. And then they have a bench seat. So if you want it to be more comfortable, or if you have a second rider behind you, they have that. Alongside the hot swappable seats, they also have hot swappable batteries. I don't know if they'll be selling them separately, but it's super easy just to take the battery out, put a new one in. So if you're biking around with another one on your back and you run out of battery, you could just quickly swap it and then get back to moving. So for the battery size, the Plus model or the the one that comes with the launch edition or the performance bike is going to be just under 1 kilowatt. I think it's around 800 watt hours, which gives you around 100 miles of range. And what's nice about it is that it's rechargeable by USB-C up to 240 watts, which is nice. There's no proprietary connector. You could just, if you have a MacBook already, you can just plug in your MacBook charger and charge it up. And what's also a cool feature about it is that since you can hot swap the batteries, you can take it out really easy, and the battery actually becomes a power bank. So let's say you're going camping or you're biking on the beach and you want to plug in a speaker or a light or something like that, you could do that with the battery as long as it's USB-C. Now the regular battery is about half a kilowatt or around 500-ish watt hours, and that'll get you 50 to 60 miles in range dependent on your pedal assist level. And it still has the same features as the Plus battery, which is it's hot swappable, can turn into a power bank, and USB-C recharge. Another thing that's cool about the battery is that it uses the same exact battery cells that are in Rivian's R1 lineup, and they've been starting to switch over, so I heard, to LFP. So that would be cool if this bike's battery is LFP. It'll increase the cycle count and also make it cheaper to produce, which is nice. So for safety features, the bike has a built-in headlight and taillight, and something that most bikes don't have, which is turn signals. So on the handlebars, you actually have two buttons for each turn signal, and from what I've heard, they're working on auto off turn signals like you would have in a Tesla. So that would be interesting to see if they come out with that in the future. That's another thing about their software and safety. They do have the auto lock feature on the rear tire, which means no one can grab it and wheel it away. They do have the lost mode. And then with their software, with them developing everything in-house, that means they can send over-the-air updates to the bike. So if they come out with anything new, they can send it right to the bike. So another thing that most e-bikes don't have is regenerative braking. If you've been in the EV scene or you have an EV, you probably know about regenerative braking, but what it is for those who don't know is basically instead of using the friction brakes to brake, it'll use the motor spinning the opposite way to brake and therefore generate electricity that goes back in the battery. That's a really cool feature to see on an e-bike, especially if you live in a hilly area. It's nice not to use your friction brakes as much. They'll wear less quickly and you'll gain some of that energy back. So the last feature, which a lot of people wouldn't actually notice because of how well tuned the software is for this bike, is that you're not actually pedaling the bike. So what I mean by that is that the pedals aren't physically connected to the tires. Instead, they're connected to a motor which generates electricity for the battery. Then the software and battery work together to send the appropriate amount of power to the motor, which sends power to the wheels. Another thing, you could change the pedal assist setting, so you could go from 1x to 10x what you're putting in to getting out. So the software, battery, pedals all have to work together, and I just think it's a really interesting thing that also came up with. All these features do come at a hefty cost though, and I'm not just talking about the price. The weight of the bike is very high, coming in at 85 to 95 pounds depending on your configuration, which is interesting considering there's other bikes on the market which come in at around 35 to 45 pounds and have similar range and features. And you might want to think about that when you realize that the pedals aren't connected to the wheel. So when the bike dies, you can't use the bike anymore like a bike. You're gonna have to push it up and down hills and on the road. 95 pounds is a lot of pounds to push around, especially if you're 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 miles out from your house. The weight is also something to consider depending on how you're storing it. If you have a garage or a shed or something, or even you just put it in the first story of your house, then that's probably fine because you're not carrying it up anywhere. But if you live in an apartment or you don't have storage on the first floor of your house or you want to hang your bike, 95 pounds is a lot of weight to carry up a flight of stairs. So I don't know how these companies are split up, but the CEO just said that the focus of Rivian is the R2. And considering that both the R2 and the TMB are supposed to ship in spring of 2026, should they really be focusing on a bike right now? I do hope it goes well for Also and for Rivian because this bike is really cool, but we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully I can get my hands on a test unit to try out, maybe? Okay, we'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you guys think about the TMB and if you guys would buy it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Just restart it.